Hello, my friends. Rob Roselli coming to you once again on the Not Fox News Network. Today being Thursday, August the 3rd, 2017. We'll make this quick one tonight. Again, website www.boxofsunglasses.com, and of course the Facebook Rob Roselli 1 and Twitter @Rob Roselli. And post this, and hopefully this gets a lot of views. Again, today being August the 3rd, 2017. Now, a lot of people out there are claiming, so-called Christians and this sort of thing, are claiming, 7-year tribulation, 2 witnesses, all this other nonsense people may or may not be familiar with in the book of Revelation. But I've come to the conclusion that everything is going to happen suddenly, okay, and all current events and indicators seem to be pointing to that. It's just very simply that's just the way it's going to go down, okay. So if you're listening to the comic book Antichrist and these people on some of these so-called Christian broadcasting stations, they've been claiming for years about a rapture and 2 witnesses, and again, and hopefully a lot of this is familiar territory. But if it's not, you're just as well anyway, because you just have the wrong information, okay. And don't forget 3 basic principles. I try to keep this simple. Number 1 is the Bible is the infallible Word of God. It's take it or leave it. Okay, it's the core of the quote conspiracy. You can't understand the insanity of the world. Okay, and the logical. At some point you come to logic's end trying to figure this stuff out. Okay, and it's all explained in the Bible. And there's a spiritual element to this. And it is the core of the quote conspiracy. So in other words, just to touch on that for a second, okay. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul explains how the God of this world, being Satan, has blinded the people of this world, okay, and how he does that through his human entities and things like the skull and bones, the Eastern Establishment, the all-seeing eye in the back of your Federal Reserve note, etc., etc. Many people have essentially been lulled to sleep. I mean, that's how it physically happens. And I'm of the opinion that there's no way that, especially in the United States, as we fall into the abyss, that people are this stupid by themselves, okay? The anti-Trumpers and these kinds of people, and I'm not deifying Trump, not want to make Trump the focal point of this conversation, but you listen to some of these people and trying to rationalize with them, and then, our so-called politicians, and then the people driving us to a 3rd world war, and everything that's happening in the world, okay? There's no way you explain this stuff rationally without some kind of spiritual element to it, okay? I don't care who you listen to, okay? It's just not possible, because that's principle number 1. The Bible is the core of the quote conspiracy. Number 2 is Israel. National Israel is not God's chosen people. Okay, that's horrible theology, and I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I'm not being anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not one of these blame the Jews for everything types. I respect the nation of Israel. I get it. It's sitting there on the Mediterranean. There's 100 million people that would rather see a nation of Israel destroyed and sent into the Mediterranean. So I'm not being unsympathetic to them, but I'm just talking from a strictly biblical standpoint. That they're just not God's chosen people. I mean, Jesus in John chapter 8 calls them sons of the devil, and Matthew 23 he basically goes off on his famous rant. Scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, and how could you escape being condemned to hell? I mean, there's not much gray area there. Okay, and of course the Apostle Paul himself had to be separated from the Jewish religion in Acts chapter 9 before he could end up writing most of the New Testament. So it's just the fact. And by the way, okay, Paul makes a distinction talking about misinterpreting Revelation. Okay, Paul makes a distinction in many books. 1 Thessalonians 2, 1 Thessalonians 4, 5, Ephesians chapter 2, for example. Okay, Paul makes a very clear distinction between tribulation, which all Christians are suffering and have been suffering for the past 2,000 years. Okay, and even Jesus in John 16 tells his followers, in the world you shall have tribulation, but I have overcome the world. And the wrath of God. Okay, Paul calls the, God's chosen people, the children of wrath. Okay, so there's a distinction between tribulations and trials, which all Christians have been suffering for the past 2,000 years. Okay, all the Protestant movements, okay, taking on the so-called, Christian Catholic Church of the Middle Ages, Christians being fed to lions, okay, under Nero and Diocletian and these other Roman emperors, say between 2 and 300 AD and this sort of thing. Okay, so God never said, He never promised this would be a party or it would be easy. Okay, so there has been tribulation going on. Okay, but it is not the wrath of God. The wrath of God is totally different. Okay, when the wrath of God hits, it's game over. Okay, it's the sixth seal. If the sixth seal has been opened, God has revealed Himself. Remember in Matthew 12, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, but none shall be given except the sign of the prophet Jonah. So what Jesus is saying is, I'm coming back, and when I come back a second time after I'm crucified, i.e. around now, it's game over. Once He reveals Himself and His wrath, that's it. It's a one-time deal, okay? It's not this stupid nonsense. I mean, what I'm getting at, it's not this stupid nonsense that many of these Jewish First Israel so-called Christians have been feeding us for the past several decades about Jewish Antichrist. Jerusalem is the center point, and, you can have a rapture and a 7-year tribulation, and the Antichrist reveals himself, and there's 2 witnesses, Moses and Elijah, running around on CNN in Jerusalem throwing fireballs at people, and they're killed and their bodies laying. It's all nonsense, okay? It's not going to go down like that. Okay, but the core of that misrepresentation, again, is principle number 2, is that Israel is not God's chosen people, and this segues into principle number 3, which is the United States, without a doubt, is the harlot or the great whore mentioned in Revelation 17 and 18, which is unfortunately is playing out like today's current events. Okay, that's just the way it is. Okay, I'm not happy about it. I wish I was wrong. I really want to be wrong, and I still hope I'm wrong. Okay, but I don't think I am. In principle. Okay, and again, if you boxofsunglasses.com, you can read about that in detail on my Mystery Babylon USA link. But just to kind of tie everything into current events, I mean, look what's happening with these recent sanctions with Russia. Russia's already running around saying this is the beginning of a trade war. People are familiar with history. I mean, generally, trade wars, a lot of times, economic wars lead to world wars, or wars in general. Okay, it's just a lot of bad blood is being established between Russia and the United States, and between the United States and the whole world. Okay, so, the beast, the horse shall ride the beast, or control the beast for a time, i.e. the Federal Reserve System. This scam known as the Federal Reserve System and its sister organizations known as the Bank of International Settlements and International Monetary Fund has been fleecing the world for years. Okay, and Russia and China, and then many of these other, Iran, and I'm not saying these other nations are perfect, by the way, but be that as it may, they're sick of it. They're sick of the United States running the world. They're sick of the United States lies and all these stupid, useless wars, regime change all over the world, Syria, Libya, Iraq, okay, Afghanistan, or attempts thereof to Ukraine. Okay, again, fleecing the people with this scam Federal Reserve System. The Anglo-American establishment, the British American establishment, and people have had it. Okay, so when you contrast this with the proper interpretation, or compare it rather to the proper interpretation of the physical events of Revelation 17 and 18, as I did probably almost 5 years ago, you can see this scenario playing out. Okay, so you have the deadly head wound of the beast that was healed, which I believe is an economic collapse. Then you're going to have a very quick, peace treaty kind of, economy. Some Pharaoh, Barry Obama, or similar image of the beast comes out and takes control of things, and I'm in control of this. And meanwhile, the nations around the world are lining up for sudden destruction and a sudden EMP or nuclear or combination thereof ambush of the whore that they hate, which is the mother of harlots of the United States. Okay, and this is the scenario that's currently coming into focus. Okay, so you didn't hear me say anything about some rapture, some 7-year tribulation, some 2 witnesses, and all these other nonsense interpretations of Revelation, which we won't get into right now. I'm just trying to paint a picture of a sudden the point is, United States, again, principle number 3, United States is the mystery Babylon of Revelation, and everything points to a sudden destruction. Okay, if you read Isaiah 29, Isaiah 30, Isaiah 47, Jeremiah 50 through 52, which describes the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, or the king of the north, okay, which in New Testament times, or symbolically, points to Apollyon, or Apollo, of Revelation 9. And there's a lot more to that, okay, that I'm trying to keep this, compact. Don't want to go back to the whole history of things, but, even the flood, okay, to go back there in the book of Genesis and read about the great flood, okay, everything happens suddenly, okay, even 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, which many of these so-called theologians point to, they skip right over, when people cry peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come, okay. Sudden is instantaneous, okay. It doesn't mean everybody kind of hangs out and watches things unfold for 7 years or 3.5 years, or with all this nonsense these people are talking. Sudden means suddenly, okay. In Genesis, okay, when Noah climbed into the ark, Noah and his wife and his sons-in-law and daughters-in-law, 8 people, okay. Parentheses, 8's a very interesting number, by the way. Biblically speaking, but I don't really want to go off on that tangent right now. There are huge symbology behind the number 8. But anyway, when Noah took 8 people into the ark and closed the door, that was it. Okay, for 120 years, the world had been laughing and making fun of him, mocking him, and this sort of thing. All of a sudden, Noah gets in the ark, closes the door, and then that's it. And then the destruction starts. Then the fountains of the great deep open up, the heavens open up, and you have the flood. Okay, the flood, by the way, which is reflected in just about every culture in the world. Okay, no matter what culture you go to, there's some echoes of a catastrophic flood happening on the world as well. There's geological evidence of the flood as well. Okay, and its aftermath, like the Grand Canyon, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, okay, fossilized, okay, layered fossils around the world, which indicates a settlement, sedimentary layers, okay, laid in a settlement as if they were moved and settled by a flood. So there's plenty of physical evidence, which we won't get into right now. Not this, of course, no evidence for stupid evolution. Maybe we'll touch on that again in a second, but as that ties into all this. But the point is, everything points to a sudden destruction, like an ambush kind of thing, okay? And we just need to be prepared. I'm not going to sit here and set a date. I mean, Jesus himself specifically warned against setting dates, okay? Most notably, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Acts chapter 1, okay? Peter asked him, when should we expect your coming? And Jesus basically tells him, don't worry about the date of my coming. Just go out and produce fruit or convert people to become Christians, and I'll worry about the timing. So everybody out there, with the blood moons and the dates and this and that and the constellations, I don't buy into any of that, because I just don't believe it's biblical. I mean, Gustav Clock must be right twice a day. Maybe one of these people hits on the exact date, but I'm telling you not to worry about exact dates, okay? We'll know the times and the seasons, like Matthew chapter 24 says, about the fig tree, of course, representing national Israel being reestablished, okay, which I'll mention just in parentheses, okay. God does say he will regather ancient Israel, okay, and that's in Ezekiel 36, okay. Just to kind of circle back for a second, national Israel is a sign. God says, I'm going to reestablish you, not because of anything you've done, but just because you were my holy people, and to reestablish or protect my holy name, to protect me. I'm going to reestablish you, and I'm going to save the last generation of Israelites. And that points to May 1948, the reestablishment of Israel. But that's all explained in Ezekiel 36. Doesn't mean we have to sit here and bow and worship ancient Israel. Okay. Just went off on a little tangent right there, because I know many people are thinking, what about, May 1948, Israel's reestablished, God kept his covenant. No, No, Israel broke the covenant, okay, in Zechariah 11, okay, Matthew 26 and 27, okay, they covenanted, they killed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver with Judas/Satan, and they killed him, and then Jesus had a new covenant, and the word new covenant means New Testament, okay. That's all nonsense to say that God reestablished Israel because he didn't break his covenant, okay. But he did reestablish Israel to protect his holy name, as I just said. But just getting back to the main point at hand, okay, in Matthew 24, when Jesus says when the fig tree is tender, know that summer is nigh. So what Jesus is saying, one, Israel is back. They know that summer, or the final harvest, okay, or the final event, or the sixth seal type of events is near. The season is near. So in other words, somewhere after 1948, not with an exact year, that things are going to heat up, and then we're going to have the end. And here we are, whatever it is, almost 60 years beyond 1948, and things are getting very interesting indeed. Okay, so again, the point I'm trying to make is this is going to happen suddenly. Okay, when people aren't expecting it, all right, but we are going to know that the times and the seasons that we can, and it's now, okay, and just to confirm this, okay, and I'm going to say, and I've shown this in the past, this is just one, I'll keep the props to a minimum, but here's the front page of the Economist magazine, okay, October, or whatever, I'm not sure the 8 months, but it's 1988, okay, and there's the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's the god of chaos, or the sun god, a representation of the ancient Egyptian god as indicated by the corn, okay, of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, okay, who has ties to Horus, okay, whose human representation was Pharaoh, by the way, of ancient Egypt. Okay, so now that Exodus episode where, where God, the 10 plagues, and God kills the first son of every Egyptian newborn, human and animal, okay, because that was representative of Horus, okay, the firstborn of a lot of the animals. The bulls were also an example of Horus, okay, or Zeus in Greek mythology, and I don't want to go off in a detailed explanation of Greek mythology, but that's what this phoenix represents, okay, and there's the United States dollars burning, okay, so they have the god of chaos rising from the ashes. In other words, what these people are saying is these people are so evil that we're going to bring about world war and economic collapse so that our new chaos, we can clear the world of 90% of the world's population, as documented in this book, okay, by me, The Un-American Genocidal Complex and the Georgia Guidestones and Skull and Bones, okay, and this sort of thing, okay, we can bring about the war and destruction and have this event, okay, and that's what we're up against, okay, but of course God's going to step in and say, in the midst of all this chaos and this ambush, this economic nuclear ambush of the United States, or the whore of Babylon, and put an end to it. That's why in Revelation 18, he's saying, come out of her, my people. He's begging Christians in this country to come out of her. Okay, Donald Trump's not your savior. Okay, Donald Trump is a stay. He's a temporary stop in the quote conspiracy, and obviously he's eliciting a vitriol unseen in American history as far as the presidency from these insane maniacs. But he's just human. He's imperfect. Okay, he's certainly not God in the flesh. But be that as it may, okay, and if you think about it, okay, I believe he's just a bump in the road. They don't want him. They didn't want him. They wanted Queen Hillary or Jezebel. And of course, God has infinite mercy. And again, I'm not deifying Trump, but he's given us a window to kind of get the word out before the eye of the hurricane, whatever analogy you want to make, before the floodgates really open. There's an interesting symbol, okay, the floodgates, the sudden destruction, okay, Book of Genesis, Noah's flood, as I just mentioned. But anyway, when that hits, as these people are trying to produce, it's just going to be mayhem, okay, and I don't have time to fully explain it, just to say that it's just going to be sheer insanity. And obviously that sheer insanity is kind of explained in this book, Pleased to Meet You, okay, it's a conversation between Satan and a member of the real establishment, okay, who discuss events from their standpoint, from, with the background of biblical theologies in the background. But anyway, it attempts to explain the insanity of what's going on in a rational manner. Okay, that's the purpose of my second book, Pleased to Meet You, again available on boxofsunglasses.com. But be that as it may, the people in control of the world plan on inducing this destruction right here, okay? And if you read that, what it says, in case you can't read it, is the year 2018. And what makes that very interesting, okay, is that when you compare it with this symbol right here, that's phi. Okay, numerical phi, or the golden ratio. Now, very quickly, what the golden ratio is, it's a number 0.618. Okay, and what it represents is it's at the foundation of the creation of everything. So in other words, and I do this, there's a link on my site called It's in the Numbers, okay, under the Robert Christian tab, but not, I don't want to, again, I want to try to keep this short and to the point, but the golden ratio is at the formation of creation of everything, okay, so you form, when a human baby is being formed, okay, it springs to life, it, takes the shape of a spiral, a hurricane takes the shape of a spiral, a ram's horn, a snail, plant growth patterns, okay, these things all follow a spiral pattern, okay, and the way you generate a spiral is with the golden ratio, okay, it has to do with, with the geometry and et cetera, and again, it's in the numbers link, okay, this is a 30-page link on my site, okay, and you can find it if you tab through boxofsunglasses.com, you look at the Robert Christian tab, I forget whatever page number it is. I'll just do that real quick. I might as well. I can spend several shows on this subject alone, so I'm glossing over it very quickly. Okay, so if you go to the Robert Christian tab, you tab through. Okay, on the bottom of that link, okay, you'll see it's in the numbers. Okay, and I explain this whole concept of the spiral and the numerology, okay, and numerology is really at the core of the quote conspiracy, and it really is the proper explanation of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, okay. Now we're getting deep into the quote conspiracy. Now we're getting to the center of the quote conspiracy, okay, but just to kind of build a little bit of a background. But again, if you look at this, that's what this phi, that's what this number represents, okay, or this symbol. So they're saying that their creator is Lucifer, or chaos, which has, again, ties into the sun gods of, quote, theology, the Greek Zeus or Apollo, or the Egyptian Osiris, the Babylonian Marduk or Mithras, or Sol Invictus, okay, of the Roman theology, okay, Sol Invictus, which was the inspiration to the Catholic Church, by the way, and, the Vicar of Christ and all this other, so-called Christian nonsense. But anyway, that's not the subject of tonight. I mean, the Vatican is just a part of the un-American genocidal complex, I believe, and it's just, tied in with the horror of Babylon. But anyway, be that as it may, that's what they're telling us. Okay, this is the Economist magazine, so I'm not just making this up. Okay, get ready for a world currency. Okay, so you got phi. Now let's just cover it. Phi is zero. Again, what I said is 0.618. Okay, is phi. Now what else is? Now what do you think? 0.618. Now 6 goes into 18 3 times. Okay, so when you think about it, okay, where does that sound familiar? Well, Revelation 13:8 says to count or calculate the number of the beast, 603 score and 6. Well, there it is. Okay, these people worship Lucifer, literally. And to have their god of chaos come through and honor and destroy the United States with fire, okay, and what they mean to say is an economic and world war to get rid of 90% of the world's population, as documented on these things, the Georgia Guidestones, is really what's happening. That's the insanity. You won't hear it on Fox News. I mean, they may talk about, the economy, they lie about everything, but the economy is going to implode. Okay, and there's no way the people running this nation that know about, I'm not the only one that knows this. Okay, but again, there's no way there's people that invented this debt-based scam that was the Federal Reserve System are this stupid. Okay, they're the same ones that put the all-seeing eye on the Federal Reserve note to begin with, the all-seeing eye of Apollo or Apollyon or destruction, which ties in with this guy right here. You see how this all connects, and meanwhile people are walking around like in a fog, in a daze, listening to these morons on Fox News and MSNBC like taking these people seriously, or these idiot politicians taking them seriously. Okay. Meanwhile, this is their signals. They're signaling what they're going to do. Right out in the open. People are too stupid and too dazed and confused to believe it. Okay. But it's here. It's in your face, and it's happening. Okay. I don't know what else I can say. All right. And then, of course, again, this year 2018. You can't really read it here, but just take my word for it. This says 2018. Now, what's very interesting about that number? Well, let's talk about that real quickly. Besides the fact it's 5 months away, 2018 in Masonic, the Freemason, is really the year 6018, because according to Freemasons, the world started in 4000 BC. Okay, which makes next year the year 6018. Now Freemasons, and you read Aleister Crowley and these kinds of people, which I don't really get into. I mean, they talk about, creation and things on the earth, operating in 7,000 year cycles, and 6,000 years is creation, and, the 7,000 year, and it's just, I'm just talking in general. Okay, I don't know a lot about, but I know enough that I've read to get the gist of what these people are saying. So numerology and date setting is huge to these people. Okay, and by the way, parentheses, if you read Deuteronomy 18 in the Old Testament, you can see why God was so angry. Okay, now it starts to make sense why he was so angry with the Jews getting involved with necromancy, or the worship of the dead, numerology, occultism, astronomy or astrology, and date setting. Well, there's your answer. Okay, this is your answer. Okay, why does God want people killed? Why does he want them to go kill all the Canaanites and all the other Hittites and the Hivites and the Jebusites and whoever was in the Promised Land? Joshua taking down the city of Jericho, just killing the whole place. Okay, as you read, in Joshua chapter 3, I believe it is, crosses into the Promised Land, and it's just, it's going there and kick some ass. Well, why? Because this is what the population was up to. Okay, the Canaanites. Okay, the Canaanite god Baal. Okay, is another representation of this, another form of this god of destruction. Okay, or Lucifer, really just Lucifer. Okay, so now hopefully these things are starting to make sense. Okay, these people haven't gone away. They just shifted their identity, and they're here. There's that word they. They have always been here. Okay, and they're trying to bring their plan to fruition. And here is their signal. Okay, so you got phi 0.618. Okay, in the year 2018 or the year 6018. Now in numerology, 0 is just a placeholder. So again, we're back to that 0.618, which is 2018. Okay, and again, Revelation, 13:8, it says to count or calculate the number of the beast, 666. Right? It's not, look, you may get a very short situation where, there's this thing in this company in Wisconsin, they're microchipping their workers, and the government's got plans to microchip the population, and that may, okay, you may have a physical manifestation of the beast of Revelation or the mark of the beast or whatever it is. Okay, but to me, that analogy is that's like describing a half an hour freight train, one of these long freight trains, and the only thing you're describing is the caboose. These people have missed. They've missed the boat. Okay, on the whole skull and bones, deep state, un-American genocidal complex, quote, conspiracy that's been going on since the Garden of Eden. Okay, and this is it. So you're telling me that the people that consciously put this out there and are controlling this and bringing about this, which is about to happen sometime between now and say next year, the real year 2018, you tell me those people haven't accepted the mark of the beast in their hand or in their forehead, which means, of course, your brain's not in your forehead. It implies, when they say, accept a mark in your hand, that means in your actions. Okay? Doesn't mean your brain, God says, it's not saying your brains are in your hand. He's saying by your actions, this is what you've done. You've accepted the mark of the beast. You believed on this system. You believed in this God, as these people literally do. Okay, as Pharaoh literally did in the Old Testament. Now that's my, that's my exhibit A or example A of the quote conspiracy, or this concept of what we're dealing with. Now, you sit and you wonder, you read, you go back, you read the 10 plagues, and I'll conclude with this, just to illustrate this, how serious these people are, and how dark and how gone these people are. Okay, the Eastern establishment of the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, they're gone. They're shot. Go back and read Exodus, the book of Exodus. So I think it's chapters 10 through 12 that talks about the 10 plagues. Okay, read about Pharaoh. Okay, you read that. I admit, I used to read that before I really started, until it sunk in. It takes a while, and you got to put your time in when you study this stuff. But you're saying, it almost seems surreal or unreal. You want to question, what the hell? What's the deal with this Pharaoh guy? Okay, with all these plagues. I mean, this guy's just getting walloped. Okay, with Moses. Okay, just killing them. Moses and Aaron, his sidekick. Okay, going in there, with the 10 plagues, the dead cattle, in the darkness, the flies, the gnats. Okay, the brimstone, and then finally, of course, the culmination. The death of the firstborn. Okay, and he finally lets the Jews go, and then a few days later, he says, "What did I just do?" After they killed his son, his successor, his Horus, his new Egyptian Pharaoh. Remember, the Horus is the manifestation, so-called the human manifestation of God on earth. And then he goes after the Jews, and he gets pasted again. And then that was the crossing of the Sea of Reeds, or not necessarily the Red Sea, but that's another conversation. But that's the illustration that God was making. Okay. And that's for people that haven't been sucked into this quote conspiracy, that aren't just sitting in this fog or this daze. Okay, there's your example. He's shot. Okay, just like these people are shot. Queen Hillary, Nancy Pelosi, which is these other politicians, they're just the play actors. Okay, but they're gone. Hillary is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I mean, she's in with the deep state. I mean, she's a Bilderberg. Her and that philandering scumbag husband of hers, Bill, the abortion queen Hillary. I mean, she's evil. She's Queen Jezebel, and she knows about it. But of course, her being on the news, I mean, she's not that deep into the deep state. The people really in the deep state are behind this. They're hidden. Okay, they're not coming out in the open. Per Isaiah, if you read Isaiah 28 and 29, you can read about these. But anyway. But the point is that there's no, just like with Pharaoh, you can't, they're gone. They've gone dark. They've completely gone over to this side. Okay, that has to sink in. Okay, these are people that have no gumption or no qualms about killing 6 billion people. Okay, they have no qualms with producing Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler is a subset. Adolf Hitler's child's play, okay, compared to the un-American genocidal complex, compared to the Georgia Guidestones, compared to Skull and Bones, compared to these guys. Because Hitler wasn't self-created. Hitler was created in this country, philosophically and financially, and everything else. Okay? So when people say, well, Hitler was an antichrist, and no. Hitler was like a Pee Wee League team compared to the major leagues. Hitler was, I'm not belittling the tens of millions that he killed. I'm just making a point. Okay, now we're at the core of the quote conspiracy. Okay, and these are the people in charge. This is what Trump is up against. Just to kind of bring it back in today's current events, Trump ain't gonna win. Trump's gonna lose. Because Satan runs the thing, okay? Trump may have been, he may have been God's kind of like last warning or last call. Maybe part of that call in Revelation 18, come out of her, my people. And again, I'm not deifying Trump. He's just the eye of the storm. He's a temporary stay in this descent into darkness and madness. And fire and destruction. Before Mystery Babylon is just wiped off the face of the earth. and then it's on, okay? So again, books are available, the 2 books, okay? Yeah, it's going to help me, you know, get on other media. I don't advertise, I'm not a big name, okay, but you can help me. I can get on to other shows, I can get on to other things, other media, help spread the word. That's it. I mean, everything else on my website is PDF format, and you're there to read it and share it, all this sort of thing. And again, it's boxofsunglasses.com. And of course, perhaps the most important is God's Simple Salvation Plan, okay, which is on the top of the website, and then links to other shows that I do, okay, are there as well. But this is it, okay. I wish I had something better to say and better news to report, but anyway, and again, I hope I'm wrong. I don't. Doesn't look like I am, the way current events are unfolding. But remember, it's sudden destruction. It's very quickly when it does happen. Okay, and you're gonna wake up one day and you're just to bring this to reality again. Your ATM, your card's not gonna work. You know, maybe they'll blame it on Trump. They'll bring some kind of chaos. They'll say it's the policies of whoever, whatever hack politician, or they'll blame it on Congress. They'll blame it on somebody. But they have been lying to us about this debt-based scam of the Federal Reserve System. Just like Satan himself, who controls the world, for Matthew chapter 4. Okay, they're never going to admit to anything, okay, except evil. Okay, and this is what's running the world. Okay, so when they get rid of Trump and Putin over there in Russia, the rest of the world figures out who's really running the show in America. Okay, and then you have the economic collapse, and then people say, well, who's in charge? Then it's on. Okay, then it becomes a matter of survival. Okay, and this is where current events are pointing. Okay, again, not to some stupid comic book Antichrist. So I'm telling you, forget all that nonsense and just come to the Lord. God's Simple Salvation Plan, boxofsunglasses.com. Try and get on here at this time, and all the YouTubes and videos and information is posted on my site. Good night and good night. God bless.